Is 2026 the year you begin your vendor market journey? If it is, we need to talk about a couple of things before you even get started. So stick around. Welcome back to another video, and if you are new here, welcome. I am Paquita, and on this channel I discuss how to grow your small business with the vendor or pop-up market platforms. I talk a lot about my experiences with vendor markets. I vlog vendor markets, and I hope to share some of my experiences, my knowledge, and my failures with you so that you can avoid all of those things. And so today I want to talk about what do you need to do to get ready for the 2026 vendor market season. Is it too late? Are you too early? We will talk about all of that today. It may be a little long, so I will try to add some chapters in this video so you can kind of jump ahead. I have segmented this discussion into 4 sections: researching, the application process, your vendor essentials, and some operational awareness. And I think within those categories, we can kind of cover all of the things that you need to have in the back of your mind before you jump into, applying all willy-nilly to the vendor market situation. Let's start off with the research. I have talked about researching different vendor markets and hosts at length in several videos, and so I will link those videos somewhere in this video or in the description so that you can go back to those and kind of get a refresher. But the first thing I think before you even start applying is make sure that you do some research on specific market events. I think it's really important to understand the event details versus just looking at the event name on like a flyer or an Instagram post and thinking that that really describes the type of market and the audience that market's going to attract. The host will get really creative with what they're calling the markets. But that doesn't really tell you who those markets are being targeted to. It could just really be kind of a theme market, right? Like you would assume that previous Halloween markets, a candy crawl is really all about families and kids are going to be there and maybe trunk or treating. That would be an assumption. However, you could be wrong. I have seen candy crawl on a number of Instagram posts, but then when you get into kind of the weeds of who the audience is for that particular market, one in particular I saw, it was focused on like a vape shop. It was a vape shop candy crawl. Definitely not a kid-friendly market. So you just want to make sure that you are clear about what it is that you're applying for, because vendor market application requirements sometimes, well, more often than not, will require that you are there for the entire event. And so events are always going to be non-refundable. Rain or shine, and they're going to be non-refundable. I've talked about this before. For one reason or another, the host will justify why they can't return your money. So if you apply and get accepted for an event, then you show up and you're like, why am I here? You're here because you didn't do your due diligence. That's why. So make sure you understand beyond the flyer. Like, don't just get, don't get caught up and swept away because the flyer was really cool. You also want to make sure that you have done some research on the market host. Here in the Charlotte area, there are some very popular large events, and for a number of years, those events were managed by a different organization. And I think like within the last year and a half, a different company has taken over those events. And so a lot of vendors who used to frequent, this particular event no longer wanted to do the event because they weren't familiar with kind of who the new host was. So you just want to make sure, just because you are familiar with an event or familiar with the venue, that you understand who the host is that is sponsoring the event. And then you want to know kind of, are they new to the game? Have they ever done this? Is this some kind of is it just a hustle for them, or are they really in it to put on a great event? And make sure that it's a good situation for everybody involved. So make sure that you can try and figure out, get to who the host is. Make sure that there maybe is some, and not all hosts will have this, but if the host has some data about or some analytics around the event that they are sponsoring, the different vendor experiences, maybe the average sales per booth, things like that. Just try to make sure that you can get as much information on the host as possible, because again, you are paying for this market. Vendor markets are not, more often than not, they are not free. And depending on the price point, they could be pretty expensive. So you don't want to just be out here throwing your money to the wind, and not holding the host accountable to provide you with some level of detail. In addition to making sure that you can understand and get some information on the host, be very aware of a lot of those Instagram pages that we're a market, we're not in your area, but we're going to come through town just to put on this market. And then you go to their Instagram page or their Facebook page, and they've got a lot of general or generic flyers. They've got a lot of generic photos. None of the photos. So these are the things that I think you really should look for. You want to, especially if you're using social media, which most markets are, they're promoted on like your socials. And so you want to make sure that when you're looking at these pictures and looking at the flyers, specifically kind of their feed photos, is their branding in the photo? And by their branding, I mean, like, do they have signage in the photo? So if they're taking a picture with a vendor, is there signage somewhere in there? Like, do they have kind of their company moniker somewhere throughout? Shop Local QC does a really good job at this. You're seeing a Shop Local photograph because they have their logo. You see kind of that teal blue color somewhere, in the photos. They will take pictures with customers at like their photo wall or something like that. Do the pictures look real? Like, do they have any shopping bags? Do you recognize any of the vendors that are in the photos? Are the areas familiar? Sometimes they will tag the location. Like, do you know what location that is? I have seen, there is a host, and I won't say their name, but I don't know if they are regional. I have seen them market for some events in the Charlotte area and in Atlanta, and somewhere else, Louisiana, I think. And so they market that they do, they promote that they have markets in these areas. But whenever I see their photos or, anything, I've even seen them go as far as like at other vendors, because they'll follow somebody's page and then that person will follow them back, and then they will tag them in the post, and then I'll reach out to that vendor if they're local, like, hey, what do you know about this host, this event? They're like, I have no idea who that is, and I've asked them to stop tagging me, and then I unfollow them, and then I block them or whatever. So you have to be really careful about, because some of this stuff is, people will hustle hard. People will hustle hard, and people will take your money because, again, the vendor fees will be non-refundable. Refundable. So you will apply to these markets, and then you will get there. The market will be like in the middle of some dirty field or something, and no customers, and you are not getting your money back. And if you're paying for it out of your pocket, or if you're paying out of your business account, it's still money going out of the door, and you're not going to get anything for it. So make sure that you are paying attention to all the small details, especially if you are, if this is a new host and, it's unfamiliar to you. Like, don't get hustled, because I feel like, anything could be a racket, right? Like people will scam on anything. So just make sure you're looking at kind of all that information. And again, if it's a new host in your area, make sure that you're getting involved in your vendor community. Like reach out to other vendors that you know, or like when you go and do these markets, introduce yourself to other vendors so that you can kind of, so that y'all can help each other out in making sure like that you get the real information on a lot of these hosts, especially if they're new to your area. Again, talk to past vendors, kind of get their experience, a review on the host. What was the host responsiveness? Were they organized? Like, did you know where you were supposed to be when you were supposed to be there? Like, were they rude? Did they have a team? All of that stuff is very important in making sure that your day can run smoothly. And again, seeing if you can get like some market data. Do they have analytics for their events? How many vendors were invited or accepted? How many vendors actually showed up? How many customers did they anticipate for the day? What was their projected foot traffic versus their actual foot traffic? Just anything. Vendors, did they at least make the fee, right? Did they, what was kind of their return on investment? Did they get the feedback? And then average sales, are the hosts collecting that kind of information from the vendor? So this is all good stuff to be able to assess if a new event is something that you want to spend your money in. Applications, woo, child. The application process can be a doozy. Right out of the gate, I will tell you, do not apply for an application unless you know that you are going to be able to pay for it 24 to 48 hours after you submit the application. Most of the time, you will submit your application, it will get reviewed unless it's reviewed by like a lottery. In general, the majority, the thing that normally happens is you will submit your application, it will get reviewed, and then in the next day or two, you'll get an invoice that says, you've been accepted, you can submit your payment here, and your payment is due on this date, which is usually going to be like 2 days after the date that they have emailed you that you've been accepted. Do not apply for an application if you aren't able to pay for it, immediately. And the application fee should be in the application. So you should be able to look at the application immediately and be able to get all the information that you need from the application before you even submit it. Like you don't even have to start the application process in order to see kind of what the application requirements are. And if you do, I would be wary. Unless it's something that you're familiar with, you've done it already, and you already know. But if it's something new, I give it the side eye for real. Because the applications, usually they're using unless they have like a separate platform or a website, typically they are using like a Google document to Google Forms or Sheets or something like that to collect your information. So there's no reason that you wouldn't be able to see the application and the requirements. Typically, it's like a page with the description and like information and things like directions and the information to how to fill out the application. And then you'll be able to see all the fields that you need to populate before you actually submit the application. And the fee is in there also. So if you're not able to see that information and you have to dig for it, or you have to apply first and then you have to, something don't feel right like that. I don't, you can do it, but I would be wary. All of that information should be available as you populate the application, not afterwards. I would prioritize the events that were really important to me, the things that I really want to make sure I get locked on my calendar. And whether you are trying to block your calendar for the quarter, for the month, for the weekend, however you schedule events for yourself, prioritize the items that you want to do first instead of instead of just trying to, rack up applications, just apply for anything that's available. Been there, done that. Don't. Don't do it. It's just so much drama. So much drama. Only apply to, one, what you really want to prioritize first, and then two, what you know you're able to pay for when you submit your application. And so when you're submitting your application, you are going to be asked a question about your company bio. You need to be able to, and so I have written something that I save and then I just copy and paste. You need to be able to explain what your business does, what your business sells, and then what you plan to bring to the particular market. Because what you sell and what they will allow you to bring may not necessarily be the same thing. And I'll tell you when those scenarios come into play. If you're in a popular category, so if you are a candle seller or a clothing boutique seller, or if you have like skincare or things like that, they may require that because they are accepting multiple in that same category, you may not be able to bring all of your candles, or you may only be able to bring candles that look like this and not look like this. Or you can only bring so many apparel items. Or for skincare, don't bring any lip balm. You can only bring body butter, and then you can't bring any fragrance. They'll try to diversify because they have so many vendors that will be at the same market in the same category. So those questions will be very important to making sure that you're able to bring the products that you want to bring, and that you're represented, correctly when they're trying to classify like the types of vendors and the product categories. But Host will have a pretty robust product category. But there is a line that says other. So if you're not able to kind of align yourself to one of those pre-existing product categories, then you need to fill out other and be able to explain, what other is. I will reference like the Google merchant store product category list. I feel like as a general rule of thumb, everybody is using that as kind of their designations anyway. But if you, again, are in a popular category, clothing, food, things like that, fragrance, skincare, health and beauty, books, magazines, stationery will usually be in one, or stationery won't be listed at all. Now that is a thing. That's a thing. Stationery is often not technically on the list, so I will write in other. And then you can break things down because, again, the Google merchant categories, I think, goes down 3 or 4 levels. And also in the application, depending on where you are, you may have to have specific licenses or permits or things like that. I've also done markets where there is like teeth whitening, people do Botox, things like that. So just make sure that, any licenses or permits or things that your state and maybe even your county requires, that you have all of that stuff together when you fill out your application, because that may or may not be asked for in the application process as well. Okay, so I have a video that talks about this at length in several different categories. It is my vendor requirements and vendor essentials list. I will link that video somehow, either in this video at the end, something, I don't know, make sure it gets to you. But you need to make sure that you know and you understand the vendor requirements and the vendor essentials. Anything from your tent, making sure that you have the correct tent. It will typically be, if it's an outdoor market, for the most part, if a canopy is required, it is going to be a 10 by 10 canopy. You want to make sure that you know if it is straight legs or slanted legs. You want to make sure you understand what the weight requirements are per leg, what color the canopy should be. If it's not a tented market, is it an umbrella market? Do you have to rent a tent or something like that? Like the New York City holiday market, will you be provided with like a hut, and then you have to go in and decorate the hut and set it up, which means that you are building something because you're going to leave your products. Is it a multi-day market or is it a single day market? Are you packing and then you have to kind of haul your products to a location from the place that you parked? Is parking free? Do they have bathrooms with plumbing? Porta potty situation? Is it a porta potty trailer situation? Like, is there going to be food there, food to purchase? Are they providing snacks? Do they provide you with water? Do they provide you with electricity? Do you need to have your own? Like, there are so many things that you need to make sure that you are aware of. Are you planning to do this market by yourself? Because you will also need to make some type of provision so that you can take breaks, go to the restroom, go grab something to eat, whatever the case is. Make sure you're talking to the vendors that are in your section so that somebody can watch your booth for you, or are you bringing someone with you? Is it a pet-friendly market? Are your products going to be an impediment if people come in your booth and they've got pets with them or things like that? All of those things you need to know. Markets are outdoor. And depending on the time of the year, you just want to make sure that you are prepared. And that is for a good day, like a sunny day, but it's cold outside versus a cold day and it's raining off and on. You're still going to be there unless you just decide it's raining and I'm not going. Just know that markets are rain or shine. So if this is your first time doing a market at all, it is rain or shine. Unless the weather is like there's potential tornado or something like that, really inclement weather where it's dangerous for us to be outside, like lightning or things like that. But if it's just raining, it's raining, it's cold, it's snowing. No, you still outside. The market is on. The show must go on. There is now again, you don't have to go. You can back out. Keep in mind though, one, if you decide that you're just not going to go because of whatever, most hosts will understand. And if available, they'll transfer your fee to a future market. Typically, I've only seen that done in emergencies, like something happened, my child is sick, a death, something, an accident, I just can't be there. They will transfer, your fee to a future market. No harm, no foul. But the no call, no show, I'm not coming because it's raining outside and the market has not been canceled and it's not going to be canceled because it's just rain. Nope. Then you're going to lose your deposit and you may not care. But if this is a market you want to participate in the future, they may be salty about the no call, no show. And no, we're going to make sure that you're on our list to never receive an application from. And you can have somebody else submit the application, but if your business name is the same, your business name is on their list. So be mindful of that. Markets are rain or shine. It's gonna happen if it's raining outside. Again, if it's as long as trees aren't going airborne or something like that, you're probably gonna still have to participate in the market, or you're gonna forfeit your fee or something like that. Timing. Make sure you are just giving yourself enough time to arrive at the venue unload your vehicle, get your products and all of your equipment to the space that you've been assigned, and get set up within the time frame that the host allows. Most of the time you have an hour, maybe 2 hours, depending on, what's going on. But you've got a certain amount of time to be able to unload and set up and be ready. Market mornings are, they are energy charged. They can be stressful. Again, if you're just not paying attention to like all of the small details that will make the day go off without a hitch. But they can be really exciting. They're really fun. And just depending on the size and the location of the market, it can be stressful just in the administrative pieces of getting to the space and then getting unloaded and all of that. And God forbid you forget anything in your car and like y'all didn't park close to your line. You got like a 2-mile hike. So yeah, no two spaces, no two markets are alike, right? So you just need to prepare for all of the things. Make sure you are familiar with the location, like that you are able to map getting there, and where the parking is, where the facility is, you kind of understand the lay of the land. All of those things are just really important. And if you are doing this on your own and you don't have someone there kind of supporting you throughout the day, these things, kind of knowing down to the smallest detail, is really going to make or break a situation. So I highly encourage you to make sure that you know where you're going, and my husband always does like Google Earth, like always like looking over top the buildings, what's next door, all of those things. So just make sure that you're paying attention to all of those small details. Emergencies and inconveniences, not just if something happens and you have to leave early, like what's going to happen. But emergencies like wardrobe malfunctions, or I spilled coffee on my shirt. Did I bring an extra shirt, or am I gonna like be here all day with this soiled shirt on? So think through, just from the perspective of just making the day the best day that it could be. Think through all those tiny details, right? We inspect all of our product before we pack them, and then we inspect them as we're unpacking them. And this is because you are transporting things. And even after like the car ride, depending on, again, whatever the parking situation is, or if it's an indoor event. And I talk a lot about outdoor events, but if it's an indoor event and you've got to go, like if you're doing Atlanta Market, you got to go inside of a building, and then, you're going up escalators, elevators, down halls, around the corners. Your products are traveling, a pretty good distance from your vehicle itself. So you want to make sure, like, especially if you're like a health and beauty vendor or a candle vendor, nothing shifted in transport, it didn't break or anything like that. So again, like just the inspection process from soup to nuts, make sure you're thinking about all of those things. Things like making sure your batteries are charged, that your phone is charged, your tablet, whatever your POS is, making sure all of that stuff is working and that you have a way to connect, right? Because again, Wi-Fi is not part of the process. Like you don't get Wi-Fi just because you're part of the market. Now, some markets may provide that and may allow Wi-Fi to be shared amongst the vendors, but those are exceptions to the rule. If you're going to have cash transactions, don't forget to bring, your cash drawer or your money bag or whatever it is. And then the things that will be in your booth, a way to collect your trash, all of your decorative items for your booth, your fan or your heater or your heating pad or whatever it is. You just want to make sure you include all of those things and something to eat, y'all. I know talk about I talk about food in almost every video, like make sure you have some snacks. Trust me, it is the most underthought about thing. Yeah, there is not a market that I have been to that one of my fellow vendors is not like, dang, I'm hungry and I wish I'd have brought something to eat and I'm here by myself. Can you watch my booth? Don't laugh at me. Don't laugh at me. It's not big bag behavior. I'm trying to help y'all out. You gonna be hungry. Do not be at a 4, 5 or longer market and you had a Pop-Tart and that's it. And you by yourself. No. A piece of gum is not going to help you. And then you're going to get hangry. And then you're going to start messing with your money. I'm trying to help you. So you do what you want to do when you popping, but bring a snack. That's all I'm going to say. So let me go back to the application because I think I forgot this. Beyond like your licenses and everything, another thing that application they will probably ask you for in the application is a logo and your website. And in one of my recent videos, somebody mentioned that they don't necessarily have a website, they don't have a store, and they want to sell their products, but they don't have, they don't have an online presence other than like the pictures that they share on social media. One, the application will probably ask for photos of your products. So just make sure you have really good photos. They want to see what the actual product is. And also, if you have a logo, provide that. And if not, just provide your company name. You don't have to try to go out and pay somebody to do you up a logo. You just want to be able to provide your company name. If you have a POS, a point of sale, whether that is Square or you're using PayPal links or Cash App or whatever the case is, I recommend that if you're using kind of a crowdfunding like Cash App or Zelle, that it is going to an account that is separate from your personal account. Just set up, especially on your Cash App, even the name of the Cash App should not be your name. It should be the name of whatever your business is. And if you don't have a business name, I would try to make sure that it is the least personal information, if that makes sense. Don't delegitimize yourself as you are trying to become legitimate. So just even in how you create your Cash App, name it, what it is that you are trying to accomplish, if that makes sense. And if it doesn't, ask me in the comments, like, what you talking about, girl? And then, we can further break it down. But if you don't have a website, what I wanted to say is there are ways that you can sell your products online without having an actual hosted domain space on the internet. I will talk about that at length in a separate video, but a lot of those crowdfunding cash sources now give people ways to be able to sell their products. Like even if you had Linktree, you could do it. But I won't digress in this video. I won't get distracted in this video. So the last thing is, keep in mind, I'm just calling it some operational awareness, and operational from your perspective. You just want to know, like, what is my bottom line? Like, what do I need to make at this market today so that I either break even or that I that I have made some money, that I have revenue, which would be above, whatever the fee was. If I make the fee plus $5, then I really made $5 today. You need to make sure that you are priced appropriately so that you can make money. I wanted to clean it up and make it sound a little bit better, but the goal of a vendor market is that you make some money. And at a minimum, the minimum money that you need to make is the money that you spent to be there. So you should know those numbers going into it, and you should plan the products that you bring, the pricing of the products, and all of the stuff that you do to prepare to be at this market. It should all be with those numbers in mind. And that also is going to ensure that you have a successful market. Because there is nothing worse than paying X dollars to go to a market and then you make this, but then when you do all the adding and subtracting, you're like, dang, now we walking out of here with $10 for 8 hours in the heat. This is not okay. I am not okay. So you want to make sure that there is some value in you being there, your participation, and all of your efforts and things like that. Estimate your inventory, prioritize what you know is going to sell based on your analytics from your last market. And again, if you're new to markets, you don't know. So your very first market out of the gate is really going to be the benchmark, right? How successful or how unsuccessful it was, regardless, this will be the benchmark. This will be the market that tells you what you need to change, what you need to continue, all of those things. This is really how you formulate your retrospective. And if you're not familiar with the retrospective is really just kind of after a certain thing is done. The retrospective is the look back. It's the review. It is the assessment of, all the activities, all the interactions, all the relationships, all the words spoken, all the dollars spent. How did it go? What do I like? What did I hate? What will I continue to do? What will I never do again? Where did I add value? What are the development opportunities? All of that stuff. If you are trying to figure out ways to process through how to set up markets for the year, and then how do you review them and learn from them. In our strategy journal, we include a retrospective at the end of each week, and so you can kind of organize that however you want to. The retrospective it's such a great tool and practice to get into, especially as you're trying to grow your business. Do your research on the market, on the host, and even other vendors, if that's an option. Make sure you understand all the details in the application, all of your vendor essentials and requirements for the day. I'll include that video again somewhere in this video at the end, in the description, some kind of way. I'll make sure I get it to you. And then just having that overall operational awareness. What does success look like for this market? Because just selling stuff does not define success, right? You need to be able to say what a successful market was for yourself. So as you are planning to kind of get ready for the 2026 market season, these are some of the things that you need to keep in your back pocket to make sure that not only are you prepared, but you're prepared to do all of the things that you aspire to do, and to be able to grow your business using vendor and pop-up markets. So I hope this information is helpful. Again, I talk at length, if you're new to my channel, about vendor markets and how to use them as leverage to continue to grow your business, to supplement your online sales, just to build awareness, and to build community. And speaking of community, I now have a membership club, and it is not super expensive. But the reason that I decided that I wanted to start the membership club is because, one, my YouTube videos are about to be a Star Wars movie length with the amount of information that I want to share. And so I want to be able to provide a space to really answer the questions for y'all that I didn't even know I had when I first got started in the vendor community. When I started doing vendor markets a couple years ago, I didn't know what to look for. I didn't know who to talk to. And you just kind of feel cringe walking up to strangers, asking them all of these questions. Now, over time, we've built relationships with other business owners that are part of the vendor community. And so, we grow and we learn from each other. But I really wanted to, because I just didn't find this resource, the resource that I want to be. I didn't find it in any other place or in anybody. You can check out information in somewhere on my YouTube page about our membership community. It's not super expensive. I'm not trying to, I ain't trying to hustle y'all. You can stick to the YouTube videos if you want. That's totally up to you. But inside the vendor community, I'm going to share things that I probably am not going to share at length in my YouTube videos, just because I noticed they're getting super long, and beyond an hour, I don't want to go over in my YouTube videos. And you guys asked some really good questions in the comments, and I try to respond, and then my responses are pretty lengthy. So I want to make sure that people are getting the value and the resources that I want to be able to provide. I also want to talk about some other ways to supplement your income, things that I just totally did not know in the beginning. They're all legal. They're not, no courses. This ain't no course situation. So don't hold your breath. But none of those things. But I think because of the time that I will spend collecting information and putting together information, the membership makes more sense. And being able, if people are interested in spending time, being able to ask live questions and getting their questions answered, and people can take notes and all that good stuff. So if you're interested in even more community, more one-on-one time, more hangout time, then I invite you to join my membership community. Again, I'm just here to make sure we all win. That's the goal. I wish what I wanted existed when I started, but I firmly believe that if you become what you needed, there will always be an endless supply. So that's my goal. If y'all are interested, if y'all are down, then come and check me out. But that's going to do it for this video. There are a couple of more things that I will be talking about. I have a couple of more markets this month, and so of course I will bring y'all along. I'm not really sure that I'm going to do anything in December. I think I'm going to take December off, focus on some other stuff. So if you stuck around to the end of this video, shout out to you and thank you so much. And if you were new here and you enjoyed this content, go ahead, make sure that you, 1, subscribe, 2, you turn on that notification bell so that you don't miss an upload, and then 3, hit me a note in the comments and let me know that you were here. And then for sure, share it with somebody else that has a small business, is thinking about a small business, and just wants to know how they can grow and thrive in a world where everybody has a small business. So, if that sounds good to you, it sounds amazing to me. I have to go, so I will talk to y'all later. Bye.
Morning good, kinda great, even on the bad days. I thank God for